Okay, so for my personal exploration activity, I called up a person that I got to know back when I lived in Orlando, Florida, and I got to interview him for a little bit. He's transgender. He used to be a girl and now he's a man. And I messaged him a few days ago, asked him if I could ask him a few questions, and it was a very enlightening experience where I was very upfront saying that I knew very little about the LGBTQ community, and he was so excited to tell me more. And the basic question that we talked about was, what can a future educator do to best help someone who's transgender or has a different sexual orientation? And the biggest thing that he said was to make sure that you're using the proper pronoun for the person. If they are identifying as male, you need to use he, his, and him, and opposite with females. And also how high school can be a rough time. They're discovering who they are, and they have to deal with a lot of things all at once. And I asked him how is it preferable for you to ignore the situation and like just don't draw attention to it, or to acknowledge it and let it be, you know? And definitely every situation is different, but he was saying that it would be helpful to feel it out every time. If they're being super open about it and they're super excited about a date they might be going on with the same gender, then, you know, be happy for them, support them. And that reminded me of how part of the online readings that we did, there was a brief mention about how we can sometimes have our testimonies get in the way of supporting and loving other people because we might not necessarily agree with what they're doing. But it's so important that while we believe something, you know, we have to keep in mind they didn't make the same covenants that we have. And so we can support them and the things that they're doing, and keep our beliefs strong within ourselves as well. And I really, I think that's so important, because my friend was talking about how his relationships were super strained, especially with his mother, where he grew up in an all-girl Catholic school. His mother is extreme Catholic, and it took them over 8 years to get that relationship back in check. And I think that in Utah, we probably will have similar situations for people that are struggling with different sexualities, because we have such a strong Mormon culture. And I don't know if everyone's meaning to go and teach in Utah, but it's likely for me, and especially with teaching theater, that's something that's going to constantly be coming up as well, because theater tends to bring in these people of different sexualities. And so just being sure that we're supportive, and we don't have to ask about their lives. As like, if they're transgender, I learned that you're not supposed to ask them what their birth name is if they're going by a different name. That's very offensive, because you're basically saying that their current gender is not valid, that it's fake. And just, it's so important to simply be a respectful person, and to love, to care for your students. And I think if you do that, then even if you accidentally slip up and say something that could be taken as offensive, if they know that you care first and foremost, that's going to make the biggest difference and make everything smooth over nicely.